Philippine Scout Rangers Part 2. Let's go.
Then the Musang or the Black Panther is our logo for the Scout Rangers.
Finally, reception day is over. But disappointment sets in as these recruits realize their Scout Ranger dream is over.
Now, if you didn't see the first one, where we left off was they just ate this nasty chili concoction, which made them all puke. And they weeded out some of the weaklings. Let's keep going.
Hindi ko na nalaman kung saan ako nag-give up yung katawan ko. Basta nagising na lang ako na parang nahihilo na hindi na nakayanan ng katawan ko.
At the end of day 1, the damage is clear. 35 have quit. 171 remain standing. And this is just the beginning. Philippine Scout Ranger recruits are 7 weeks into their brutal training regime. 53 have already dropped out.
Those who fail to graduate has one thing in common. They easily give up. The battle has been won yet. They already doubt themselves. Once you doubt yourself, definitely you will not finish the course.
I've met some guys like that were Thai Marines that just didn't have any quit. They just had, like this guy talking here. You can tell he just wasn't going to quit. There was no option. He wasn't going to go home and dishonor his family. And there's something to that where you've got enough pride to say, I want to do this and nothing's stopping me unless I get broken. Now, they talk about mental toughness and all this shit. But the reality is, at some point, I think it's genetic, and it is upbringing too. But if you grow up in a soft environment, I just don't think you're going to get there. You guys let me know in the comments what you think.
Pag-exit sa static line, sisigaw ng opera pin. Nakuha.
Yes, sir. The recruits will test their heads for heights today. They're going to learn to rappel on this 45-foot tower.
Ranger Brother, request permission to enter the tower tabak.
Rangers specialize in jungle warfare. They rappel down mountains, cross rivers, using expedite methods or anything that's available within them.
In the jungle, they need to feel comfortable hanging at 100 feet in the air, well under fire. In a battle zone, quick execution of these.
Now, if you've never rappelled before, if you follow exactly what they say, like, for example, in this one, when you're practicing on the tower, you know, you lean back and get your body perpendicular to the wall. It's not hard, but it's just very unnatural. And then when you throw a weight on, a pack on, it changes the whole physics of the thing. But if you follow the instruction, it's not hard, but a lot of guys just get nervous. They don't like heights. It's like they don't like tight spaces. And so instead of leaning back, they lean forward and bounce off the wall. You guys that have rappel, put it in the comments some of the shit you've seen at the rappel tower, because it is classic when people just don't do it. Now, I'm not saying I'm not scared of heights. It's not a big phobia, but it's kind of groupthink when you're in training. And once you do it, you want to do it again because it's fun. It's like jumping out of a plane. Once you do it, you're excited. But getting there could be a challenge.
Could mean the difference between life and death. Recruits will have to complete 4 crucial forms of rappelling: the seat hip rappel, the lizard rappel, the rundown rappel, and the heli rappel.
And then, hawak sa brake.
Now, I've never done the lizard rappel. I'll admit that. That looks a little more challenging. Just process, the technique is probably, once you figure it out, it's probably pretty easy. But it looks scary as shit.
Get apart. Okay. Hold the rope.
Recruits 1 and 155 are up first with the seat hip rappel, used for mountain evacuations. Recruit 155 is one of the youngest in the course.
Naramdaman ko po kinakabahan po ako ngayon. Dahil first time ko po ito nilulula dahil sa mataas ng katawirin nito. Pagsubok po sa buhay.
Okay, go. Ranger Robo, ready to perform. Sit hip rappel, boss, start. Go.
Ranger Kirante, ready for perform.
I don't know what he was saying in Filipino, but usually you say, recruit so-and-so on rappel, and then recruit so-and-so on belay, as I recall. You know, it's a fun time to do it. These guys look like they've done it before. They just had good instructions. They just jumped right into it.
The first exercise is cleared. They've performed well, even recruit 155.
Ito lang yung nagawa namin na medyo kabado hanggang sa ngayon, kabado pa rin. Pagkatapos ko ng talon, parang nakangkit ko na yung kaba ko sa ilong ko.
For the next few hours, each recruit...
I heard loco, and I've been around enough Spanish speakers, I'm going to assume that means crazy. You know, the first time you do it, you do get an adrenaline rush because it's something you haven't done typically, unless maybe you were in some kind of scouts or some kind of Pool E function in the Marine Corps. And it is a time that you remember because the first time you realize this isn't that big of a deal, but you think it is. You know, the gas chamber is always something that people really stress out about, and it really sucks. Well, this is really fun, actually.
Gets a turn to perform the other 3 types of rappels.
Yung hindi namin napapansin na pagkaragala yung estudyante. Once na hindi nakahook up, malaglag siya or matulak ng kasama.
For Recruit 197, the lizard rappel used for clearing rooms with hostages is proving a challenge. This fully loaded M16A1 rifle weighs over 3 kilograms.
Mas mahirap ito sa lizard. Yung tali, mas masakit siya sa bewang mo. Kasi pababa yung ulo. Yung bigat nandun lahat, tapos may baril pa.
You know, I will say the way they're doing it with a fully loaded firearm, right, the M16, that makes a lot of sense. You see a lot of these training videos, selection videos, they don't bring in some of the gear, which does create a twist in the process. When you've got a rifle, it's oblong, another hand to control it. You know, it just adds another layer of complexity. The first time without the rifle tends to be easy. Maybe you can balance yourself, and I've never done the lizard rappel, but I could see that thing getting in the way, your M16, when you're rappelling face forward down to the bottom of this tower.
Masakit talaga siya.
Well, that's fun.
Next, they must conquer the slide for life, a 200-meter flying fox.
Ang importante po ng slide for life, kung nag-ooperate tayo, may mga cases na madaanan natin to, lalo na sa mga...
Everybody likes to slide for life, right? I don't know anybody who didn't like it. They tell you where to drop. It's fun. If you're not used to water, you don't like water, kind of goes up your nose. So those guys that hold their nose when they go under, I guess it could be an issue, but that's something fun. That's what guys sign up to do, right? They don't sign up to go on long humps, paint rocks, or sweep rain.
Malalalim na ilog.
It's a 7-second expressway to safety or injury.
Kung pagdating mo doon sa taas, paghawak mo ng pulley, pag hindi ka nakagrip, may posibilidad na malalaglag ka dito. Tapos makon yung katawan mo, ma-crack.
Not getting it right here won't kill them.
Na dapat doon sila bumagsak sa kabila dahil for secure. Kung dito kasi, delikado at medyo mababaw na. Kasi may mga bato-bato na dyan.
But in the jungle, one mistake could mean death.
Now, when you got all your gear on, right, you hit the water, what you do realize very fast is when you hit the water moving very quickly off this slide for life, the water tends to be hard. And you got a bunch of gear on, you know, if you don't secure it how they tell you, it'll be flopping around, a helmet, a rifle, a pack. You know, I'm sure they'll be doing that next, trying to refine this. And like he's saying, if you're going through a jungle or something, and you don't realize where you're going to land when you let go, whereas you may let go here and land here, you're going to hit a tree, and God only knows what you'll get hung up with. And that's a good way, I can speak from experience, to tear up a shoulder.
Next up is Amphibious Training. Some recruits are weak swimmers. This phase will aim to weed out those that can't make the grade. Recruits will be thrown into this 12-foot deep river, blindfolded and in full combat gear, weighing 30 kilograms. The aim is to first disorient them, then see if they can calmly recover and reach the surface. For recruits terrified of water, this is their worst nightmare. Recruit 181 will confront one of his lifelong fears.
So, kinakabahan ako dito kasi dito.
Now, I think if you're terrified of water, I guess that's a variation of terrified, right? But if you're super phobic of water, I think this would be impossible. You know, I've seen guys who are just terrified of something where they get in it and they start shaking. They're truly terrified. I mean, not scared where they're not used to water, they can't swim. But I've seen some guys that clearly are just absolutely want nothing to do with the water, and especially when you put the gear on. Because none of that shit floats, going to the bottom, the helmet's moving around, you got this rifle all of a sudden that's heavy and a pain in the ass to tote.
Mahina talaga ako sa kuan, langoy. Nung nangyari sa akin, nalunod kasi ako, matagal akong sa tubig. May phobia na talaga ako dyan, pero sinusubukan ko lang yung parang kina-counter ko lang yung takot ko dyan.
Recruit 181 survives this first challenge. But up next is an even tougher one.
Now, I don't know how deep that was, right? So if it was real deep, you're not going to be able to kick off the bottom. But if you can go to the bottom to sink and kick off, little cheat, helps you out a little bit. I'm not sure how deep this river or lake is, but it's still not easy when you're not used to it. And if you're terrified of water, this makes for a real challenging exercise.
Small groups, recruits must tread water for 30 minutes in this 5 by 5 meter square. Fresh water has a density lower than salt water, making floating much more difficult.
All right, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, for people who think this is easy, just try to tread water for 5 minutes in a pool or a lake. I don't care if it's the ocean. Treading water will wear you out so fast. Now, if you're an extra muscled up guy that sinks, obviously you don't have any buoyancy. These guys look pretty lean. But 30 minutes treading water, most people are not in that kind of shape. You think you are until you try it, and then you go, holy shit. 30 minutes is a long time to tread water. And then they're in one space, right? So you're not swimming a little bit. You're just using whatever technique they got them doing. And there's multiple ways to get there, but in one spot, you will find out every muscle in your body will get fatigued really, really fast.
For those waiting, the cold and cramping is causing problems they don't need.
1 minute. Ranger, ito kita. Ranger, kita.
Marunong lang lumangoy pero hindi ko sigurado kung tatagal ng 30 minutes sa tubig.
Long time, but recruits have more to worry about than staying afloat.
Prepare.
At the end of the 30 minutes, the instructors will jump in and attack the weak.
5 ka, sa gitna na kayo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Time!
If recruits don't have the energy or aggression to fight back, they could find themselves in deep trouble.
Wow, these guys look completely spent. Now, I've done something similar. Growing up, I used to surf, right? So I was used to getting pummeled in the waves. And then we played with someone's big brother, whether it was in the ocean or in a pool, they'd hold you under. So it was kind of like training, right? You got used to having water rush in your eyes, up your nose, whatever. And when you're spent, say from surfing, and a wave pummels you, there's no moving, you get used to it. But a lot of guys just aren't. They haven't had the experience. They can realize in their head they're not going to die here. Now, at some point, you may be totally taxed physically. and there's nothing you can do. And if you start cramping, you're one of those guys. I don't know what the solution is, because once those cramps start, it's hard to work through it, especially on your hamstrings.
If recruits fail the first time, they are forced to redo this until the course director is satisfied. For the poor swimmers, this is hell.
We have this drowning part for training for our recruits, for them to get prepared when they engage their enemies in the water. If someone is drowning them, they don't get panicked, and they know what to do.
I think that was the key thing he said, is you don't get panicked. And so if you're used to water and you realize you're not going to die, it's a whole different ball game.
Recruit 199 is in trouble.
Yung sinakyan ako ni CD, talagang mabigat siya, parang mawawalan na ako ng malay ka lang. Unti-unti na talagang naubos yung lakas.
The recruits survive amphibious training. But what lies ahead will test their nerves and risk their lives to become a Scout Ranger.
Holy shit. Now that did not look good. The guy was holding 2 containers of a red liquid, and I'm assuming it's like the Russians. They're going to shoot that. I don't understand that training. I guess it's just something I haven't done. I wasn't an SF guy, but I've talked to plenty of guys that were. I never heard of it being done. Now, that doesn't mean it's not good. Very well could be the best thing ever. It just seems so counterintuitive from my standpoint.
Scout Rangers are an elite strike unit on constant standby to deploy against insurgent groups across the Philippines archipelago. June 7th, 2001. Muslim insurgents, the Abu Sayyaf, hold 3 civilian hostages deep in the jungle after kidnapping them from the Dos Palmos resort in Palawan a year before. After stalking them for days, Scout Rangers track the guerrillas' footprints through the night. By the next day, the Rangers creep within 30 meters of their targets. For the next 2 hours, they engage in intense firefight against 30 rebels in muddy and thick terrain.
Now, this program obviously is dated. I don't know what's came out of Marwai with the same group of people that they mentioned, but I'm sure the Scout Rangers have seen a lot of action. Because if you guys haven't seen what's going on in Marwai, I could be pronouncing it wrong, but the whole place has been bombed out, it looks like, when you see the footage. So I'd suspect you guys from the Philippines let me know how much the Scout Rangers have been used in that conflict.
4 enemies are left dead and 1 hostage rescued. Marksmanship is a key skill for a ranger. Today, these recruits need to prove they have it.
Fire when ready.
Fundamental understanding of positioning, aiming, breathing, and correct trigger pressing will be put to the test in 5 separate skills. Zeroing.
1 inch below the line of sight.
Endurance firing, record firing, and the sneaker course. But it is the final exam that is the most nerve-wracking of all. A confidence test that can kill. Recruits are required to
Yeah, you don't want to have a guy pull one on that deal, right? They used to call it Maggie's drawers when you missed, right, in training. So I'm assuming, I mean, it's pretty close to the guy's body. If you're going to miss, you better miss, I guess, not high, low and to the right or low and to the left. I would not want to be the Joker holding those 2 sacks. If you guys have ever done that, something like that, it's almost like Robin Hood with the apple on the head, but there's death involved, let me know.
2 bags full of colored water at a distance of 25 meters using this M16A1 rifle with a 5.56 caliber round. First, they practice. Then their teammates hold the bags. At this range, a 5.56 round could kill. Hitting the thigh could rupture the femoral artery, one of the body's most important blood vessels. Rapid blood loss leading to death can occur in just 5.
Yeah, if you got shot in the leg with it, you just hope it didn't hit bone and was a through and through. So if it hits the bone, you're going to be in for a world of recovery.
Minutes. And the margin for error is slim.
So kahit na perfect na ibang part ng fundamentals, pag nagkaroon ng error sa trigger, konting error lang, maaaring ang target hindi na siya tatamaan. Maaaring kakaliwa ang bala or kakanan.
This is more than just marksmanship. It's a test of trust.
Pag kaibigan mo kasi, kakabahan ka na maaari mo siyang matamaan o hindi.
It's judgment time. One target down. Lucky for his...
Now my question is how many guys have gotten shot doing this? I'd suspect not many, right? Because they wouldn't keep doing it. I'm sure it's just it's 25 yards is not far. You got your weapon zeroed in. At 100, you know at 25 it's going to hit a little low because, you know, rifle round goes like this. And then you just play it up. You got maybe, 8 inches or so to hit the bag. But it'd still be nerve-wracking. You're shooting at somebody you've trained with, and they're going to shoot at you too.
Friend, Recruit 22 passed, and they both move one step closer to being a ranger. Next, the recruits begin the heliborne training phase. Scout Rangers can deploy quickly into conflict areas by air. Landing into hostile territory, a helicopter is a big target. These men need to get out as quickly and safely as possible to avoid the helicopter getting hit.
Bali, ang tinuturo ko sa kanila ay paano yung tumalon and then i-secure yung mga landing zone, paano nila i-secure din yung mga personnel during.
Yeah, and you figure right here, we'll see how they land, but they're showing a nice open field, right? They'll be fast roping into the jungle, I suspect quite a bit, because if you look at the terrain, you're not going to have many of these open spots. Maybe they try an open spot, then maybe hit the jungle. And then you add the night into the mix, right? So the helicopter is not fully lit up. They're not flashing a flashlight down at the bottom where they're landing. You know, ideally, you got an open spot like that, but that doesn't always work. I'm sure this training will go into it.
Movement, loading and unloading ng personnel.
Mistakes here can cost lives, even in training.
Napakahalaga yan na malaman nila kasi as a Scout Ranger, hindi mo na kailangan pang i-command.
First, recruits gear up for the quick deployment method. If the terrain is clear, the helicopter can fly fast and low while the troops disperse.
Makibagay ka, makisama, makiramdam mga dito sa surrounding.
It's a risky 10-foot jump, and one mistake could result in broken bones.
You know, the wild card here is you throw on all the kit. Throw on the body armor, the helmet, 12 mags, one in the rifle, any kind of frag. So then it really just gets heavy. You got to know how to do this. If you just hit straight down and don't roll, you're going to put all that force on your knees and your joints. You may be fine. But then come 35, you wonder why your knees are shot.
Next, they have an even tougher challenge, Heli Repelling.
Yung Heli Repel ay ginagamit yan during infiltration na kung saan hindi kayang bumaba ng aircraft. Hindi kaya niyang bumaba ng sa ground, mag-touch sa ground, kaya kailangan magbaba yung tropa use of the rope.
Recruits practiced this skill at the tower earlier in training, but now they take it to new heights. They need to complete nerve-wracking drops from 50, 70, and finally 80 feet above the ground.
Now that part of stuff for them will be easy and fun. Better than jumping out of the helicopter 10 to 15 feet and rolling. This they've already done in rappelling. It's not much different except louder and windier, right?
With nothing to stop them but their hands.
Ang nervous hindi natin it's inevitable. Talagang ganyan. Pag una, nervous pero i-control mo.
Recruits first tackle the 50-foot drop.
All right, so we're about to make the 50-foot drop. Then we go up to 80. So if you guys want part 3, put that in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.